Usually this application is going to take place in a hotel room or a like a hospital. Some corporate centers and stuff like that will have you refinishing the doors. And the reason that they're going to this Noc film is because these doors typically are solid core, fire rated, expensive doors. There's labor involved in hauling out the old doors. There's landfill fees. There's a lot of different positives to using the film. You hire some of these endorsed guys, and they can go out and refinish, depending on the crew, 10 to 20 doors a day. Hospitals are getting turned on to it because you can bleach it. It's very resilient. It's easy to patch if a cart dings into it and it gets damaged. It's an 8 mil film, so it's pretty thick. Usually when we show up to a job, we either have pieces pre-cut for our overlap and top and bottom bleeds, or we're pulling it right out of the box. And I got this piece pre-cut because it's a demo, and we're we want to make sure I don't bore you guys. So if we were gonna pull it out right out of the box, we pull it up, we cut our zipper with our seam buster tool, right? I don't know how many of you guys have seen the seam buster tools. You can get them wall mural or walltools.com, I believe is where I bought these. There's a special blade that goes in it. They're, when you're cutting your seams, the blade will get dull. You can take it out, flip it around. You can use the blade 4 times. It's a pretty cool little tool, and I'm using it in day-to-day application for wall murals, car wraps, anything I'm doing now. I'm using this a lot instead of sheeting stuff with a knife. It's pretty cool. So our zipper cut with the seam buster, you're able to cut the backing paper without cutting the vinyl, right? So what this is going to do, this is going to be our hinge. When I go to put this on the door, this is what's going to stick it up there. There's different. When you go to the 3M class, they will teach you all the specifics. In each case, you always want the 3M pattern facing towards the top. It's a big rule, and we've even adapted that into when we're applying 1080 and stuff like that, because it makes everything that much better, more consistent, right? So now, Matt, can you come over here for a minute? This is Matt. Matt works for me. My name's Jeb. We're with B5 Installations. We're here in Indiana, up north, St. John, Chicagoland area. I'm using Matt to hold the door. Usually when you're opening the door in a hotel room, you got a wall there, so Matt's my wall right now. Anyways, we've cut a 4-foot section, and typically we'd probably cut 6 inches off the film. We want enough to pull around the edge and cut to the face. There's 2 different techniques on the sides. We can do a butt seam down the middle, but I prefer doing a double overlap to the front and then to the back. And we do that because of, let me see the door real quick, Matt. And then the reason you would do a butt seam, can you guys hear me? I feel like it's going in and out, is if you have low clearance here. Sometimes they'll have you do Noc over Noc. So now instead of 8 mil film, you got 16 mil, right? So it gets thicker. So you may have a butt seam on the edge. We're not going to do the butt seam today. We're going to do a double overlap. You would use primer 94. 3M also has a water-based primer out called WP2000, and I've had trouble getting a hold of it. Nobody really knows where to grab it. And if any of you guys are distributors out there and you know where to get it, I need to talk to you after the demo. But typically you would primer all the edges, the leading edge that you're cutting on, around the handle. A lot of times there's a lock or a key card reader, right? All that has to be removed. Your hinge, sometimes you have a pull up here. Everything, you want to remove it all to make your installation go as smoothly and flawlessly as possible. So you always want to start with your least visible side in each case. It doesn't really matter what you're wrapping. We just got done doing a whole bunch of mill work where it was all flat face cabinetry and the returns. And we were out there for 3 days wrapping all this millwork. But we were at a cabinet shop, and if you know these cabinet guys, they're all about wood veneer, right? And they saw us install the Dynoc, and they were like, "Man, this is cool." Like they were even pretty excited about it. So, anyways, I've got my my squeegee. I'm using the 3M Gold card with the monkey strips on it. I don't know how many of you guys get the monkey strips from Justin, but they're awesome especially for Dynoc. All I'm gonna do, can't talk with my squeegee in my mouth. We're gonna pull this zipper away. We call this a zipper cut, and we're gonna pull that away so I can position the film up on the door, and that's gonna help me get my grain straight, help me figure out, you know, left and right bleed, that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna hold this up. You got the doormat, and I'm gonna take most of my bleed to the front because I don't want to deal with it back here where I'm trying to go around these hinges. I'd rather have less to deal with back there. So I've got this up here. I'm gonna pull my my zipper back, and I'm gonna try to position this the first time as straight as I can. And what I'm gonna check now, get my mic in front of me. I'm gonna check and make sure I'm covering that whole edge, because if I'm covering the whole edge, it means my grains are straight, and I'm not gonna have to do any patchwork. You know, when you get into patchwork and stuff like that, that's what's gonna take the time out of your install. You wanna be as clean and as efficient as possible from the get-go. So I've got plenty at the bottom. I'm missing a little bit here on the side. I'm only covering about half the door. So all I'm gonna do is bring this end up, kind of leave this tack down. I'm gonna pull this up so I know that my seam, my edge is becoming straighter. Right, now I have it where I want it. And we're gonna pop this off. And now we have it hinged without using any tape or anything else. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna cut off what I don't wanna use. Just like if you're doing a car wrap, you're cutting the wheel wells out, right? Or you're trimming to the size of your vehicle, so you don't have that. You know, if you're going over the trunk or the leading edge of the fender, and you don't want that flap, sometimes that'll fold down and catch itself, and you don't want it to do that. It just creates a mess. So I'm gonna cut a good, you know, 4 or 5 inches off of this film, and you know, I guess you could do this 2 ways. You can do it from the front. You know, if you can eyeball it pretty good. They also have the grid line on the back. It really makes for a convenient cut line. Makes for a nice straight cut. So I'm just feeling the edge of the door with my finger here. I'm taking as much of this off as I want to, because there's no reason to have all this getting in our way. And I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom of the door, so that we don't have this dragging on the floor, picking up lint from the carpet. You know, you guys know vinyls, there's a lot of static electricity when it comes to installing the vinyl. You know, it doesn't matter if you're doing cars, window, you know, glass film, or Dynoc. You know, there's always that static electricity in your way. If you guys have any questions along the way, why I'm doing something, anything like that, just feel free to stop me. I don't know if you can tell, it's one of my first demos here. I've presented a lot to architectural firms and you know, design firms and stuff like that. Those are the guys that you're going to be selling to. Buyers groups, you know, people that own hotel chains and stuff like that. You know, basically what I want to do now is start from the top and work my way down. we're going to squeegee the. This has the comply adhesive on the back, so it has the air channels, which helps a lot. I don't know how many of you guys have worked with films, you know, that don't have the air release, but it's a little bit different. Flat surfaces, you know, you can get away with a lot more, but the air channels do help, especially with some of the tricky stuff you get into with Noc. I'm folding the film up to give myself a little bit of play to release that where I cut it straight. You know, I know some of you guys, you know, probably know the trick, you know, folding the backing paper. You can do that too. I've done this enough where I just reach up and grab it. Sometimes it rips, you got to be careful. Just make sure the backing paper is not going to rip. I'm getting a little bit of a pucker here, so what I'm going to do is pull the Noc down with my other hand and try and work that air out, so that we don't have so we don't have to fight it all the way down. And once you get a clean line going, you know, you can just keep pulling the backing paper off, and it goes pretty smooth, especially with doors and walls. Walls, you know, again, are a different application still, but you know, walls, you'll learn about butt seams and you know, different techniques when installing Noc on different substrates. Doors are really cool because it's such a transformation. I'm sure all you guys, you know, the first time you did a vehicle wrap, you stood back and you were like, this is so cool. Well, that's how it was with the Noc film when we started doing, you know, doors and, you know, even refrigerators, microwaves, that kind of stuff, appliances, they're wrapping all that stuff now. So it's really cool to see where this product is going. They're even doing dividers in bathroom stalls and trying to make, you know, bathrooms look a little bit better too. So we're down at the bottom of the door. You know, you've got this extra. A lot of times what I do is just crease the paper and start rolling it, similar to the way you do a wall mural. I mean, a lot of you, I know I'm talking to a lot of industry professionals here, but you know, I just want to be thorough with how I'm explaining it. So, you know, keep pulling it down, same way you would with, you know, just pulling the backing paper. I'm rolling it a little bit with my left hand. The backing paper is keeping the film straight. You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. You don't want that lint jumping up and creating any problems for, you know, adhesion. It's all about the you know, the sterileness. Obviously, your substrate, when you start, you want it as clean as possible, as smooth as possible. Now, there's two different ways to cut the film. If I can find my, you can buy a little sanding block, little rubber sanding block, 150 or 180 grit sandpaper, and that will actually cut the film for you. They show you this in class. It's actually pretty remarkable with how clean the cut is when you use a sandpaper. I'm gonna cut it with the knife right now and then go over it with the sandpaper. At the base of the door, you wanna use the sandpaper to keep that lip of the vinyl from catching anything. If it's a door stop, a door mat, you know, hotel guests might have a sock or something there, you know, that door, when it's swinging back, it could catch it. So you don't want anything to catch. So we're gonna cut this clean. And at the end, I always dip the knife down a little bit and cut away, because I want to make sure that when I turn that corner that it covers completely. Same thing on the inside edge. And then, you know, I cut pretty clean, but I'm still gonna go with the knife, with the sandpaper, and hit this bottom edge. And you never want to sand up into the film because you could pull it off. You always want to sand, you know, away from yourself onto the film, or you can simply slide it back and forth to make sure you get a nice clean bottom edge that's not going to catch up anything on the bottom. I'm gonna make sure this is nice and clean so that when you guys come up and check this out when we're done, you can understand, what it's supposed to feel like. Same thing along the top. Before you tuck the sides, you want to cut the top as well, because otherwise it just gets in your way. The network, the installation network that I'm part of, the Masters of Branding, we've sent 3 different classes up to St. Paul to go get endorsed. We've got the largest endorsed installation network right now in the United States, and Phil, Knifeless Phil from Canada, he's endorsed. Do we have any other Canada guys that have the endorsement? Just Phil. It's Phil. That's Kenny Tunn, Mike Zick. They're both endorsed. If you guys have any questions, or feel free to stop me if I'm like rambling. All right. We're gonna do the same thing across the top with the sandpaper. It doesn't take long. You might get a little frustrated after doing 500 doors, but it's worth it just to have it perfect. And you want the clients to come back. You want them seeing the product and thinking that it's a real door. That's the whole thing with vehicle wraps and vinyl is you want to fake everybody out. You want them to think it's the real deal. You want them to think it's paint. You want them to think it's a door, real wood. That's the whole name of the game. What I'm doing now is using the edge of my squeegee to get a nice sharp corner on the edge of the door. And then I'm going to go ahead and roll this back to the back side of the door a little bit at a time so that I keep this as sharp as possible, because when we come to the front, we're going to have to cut around these hinges twice. So we want to do a real clean job the first time. And again, it's a little difficult sometimes when you're fighting. Some of these hinges are really close, and you don't want to be fighting them all the way down. It's not fun when you get yourself into a bind. So I'm cutting this backside really clean to the hinge, skipping over the hinge, continuing the cut down, and trying to keep it as close to the corner of the door, almost like a glass cut, like a beveled edge glass cut. You want to make sure that you're real tight to the corner. I don't know how many of you guys use these little orange squeegees from, I think they're Yellow Tools. These are little lifesavers with Noc, because now what I've got this vinyl spanning over this hinge here. So what I want to do is outline it with this little squeegee and see where I'm going to actually cut. You're kind of tracing it. And I'm going to do all 3 hinges that way. I'm going to find the edge, and I'm going to make little indentions where I want to cut, because that helps me. When I go to cut this, instead of cutting kind of through an 8mm film, it's difficult to find the edge. You guys have any questions while I'm doing this? We're going to cut the hinge out, and again, we just want a nice clean cut, because we're going to overlap this here on the second half of this install. It's kind of a tedious process. Have you guys done any die knock installation yet? Do you have any questions? Not a whole lot I can really sit here and explain while it's going on, you know. The die knock is getting used a lot in different settings. Elevator cabs, we've done a lot of refinishing elevator cabs, the interior panels. Elevator doors, they've got metallic films and stainless steel films as well, similar to the 1080 line. They've got some abstract patterns that are really nice. They're using them on walls and such. Now I've got the hinges cut out, and I'm going to go back in with that little yellow squeegee, that orange squeegee, and I'm going to make sure that those are tucked in nice and tight. And again, you know, these would all be primered on site so that you don't have any failures out in the field. And this is when you can tell that it's die knock, because, you know, if the installer is not very thorough, you'll see the lifting edges and stuff like that when you're looking at the door, when you're inspecting the door. You know, a lot of people probably wouldn't ever know the difference, but you know, being vinyl installers, you guys would definitely find that those flaws. So I got it all down where I want it. I'm gonna go with this hard side of the squeegee and just make sure it's all really down really tight. We got the hard part done. It's time to do the front. The only thing on the front that we have to cut around is the locking mechanism here. So we're doing the same thing on the front edge, just creasing the vinyl, you know, working it up and down. Obviously, like I keep saying, you would use primer on this on the front edge of this door. You could primer the whole edge of the door if you wanted to, but really it's just the leading edge that you have to really be careful with. You want to make sure that around the locking mechanism is down really tight, and then it's the same cuts as you have on the back end. Again, you can use a sandpaper if you want to. I'll go ahead and use a sandpaper on this to show you guys how to cut that with the block. Again, it's 150 to 180 grit. It usually comes in sheets. Cut it down to size, and it just snaps right into this little block. Get them at Home Depot. I usually start a cut with a vertical, you know, going with the grains, with a vertical, you know, vertical cut. And then I go back through and hit it all going away from the film. And you're gonna hit it. I do this like kind of like a 45-degree angle. And I try to go both. I can see the doormat. Thanks. Matt installs a lot of die knock with me. A lot of times we're out overnight, and you know, they want the installs done at nighttime because of the they don't want to lose the space during the day. So it sometimes makes for long nights, especially if the substrate's not up to par, you know, when you get there. Same as any, you know, vehicle wrap. You want it, you want the vehicle clean when you get it, but it's not always that way. So being our leading edge, you really want this this smooth, because you're going to wrap the vinyl, you're going to wrap the die knock back over the other edge. So you want this to be as smooth as possible. And you know, we got a pretty good start here. So we're going to clean up some of these scraps that are left from when we tore it. Kind of time consuming, I know. Monotonous again, you know, but it's worth it at the end when you look at it, and it's you know, they look really nice. Your client's happy, and they can't believe it's vinyl. So, and you know, when you're done doing this type of cut, you're going to want to make sure you clean it again. You know, they recommend 70% isopropyl alcohol. And again, you know, you're going to primer, even though you're going vinyl on top of vinyl, you're going to primer the edge again. Again, with the little squeege, cutting the, making a mark in the vinyl. And you want a nice clean cut because you're going to go over this again. And that's what you have when you're done. It's pretty cool stuff. It's a pretty easy sell when it comes to talking to a client, explaining you know, the benefits of it, as well as you know, especially in hotel rooms where they're losing revenue for every day that door is off the hinge when it's getting sent to the refinisher to be laminated. So, you know, you can do this right on site. They lose the room for half a day, you know, depending on how many doors you're doing. Sometimes you get 2 doors out of a deal because you're doing the bathroom door as well. So, okay, that's about it. There's a little bit of cleanup to do on the edges, but it's not it's not anything that's going to I'm getting some feedback here. You good? It's not anything that's going to affect our installation moving over to the other side. We're going to do the other side as the second demo today, so that we're not here, you know, for half the day watching me wrap a door, because it takes a little while. It's a process, especially when you get into the prep and the cleaning and stuff. I forgot to show you guys, you know, the handle, obviously, just like any other cut. It's pretty simple. Sometimes you will catch little chips of wood. You know, you just want to skip over that part, try and hit it from another direction, so that you're not chipping away at the door, because your knife will cut into the wood. So that's it. I think we're done. So do you guys have any questions, or you guys feel free to come up and check it out.